Hello, Miss Ernestine. Hi, everybody. Just take a few minutes. Hi, everybody. How are you, Miss Ernestine? Hi, Pastor Jessica. Did the title show up? Hi, just for a moment. Did the title of the show up? The title of the broadcast? Oh, perfect. How you guys doing? I'm just going to wait for a few minutes. Hey, Miss Lawanda. I'm just going to wait for a few minutes, okay? I'm not going to be on long. I just wanted to do an introduction on the Periscope page. Hopefully you guys have been following me on YouTube channel. Have you guys been following me on YouTube? So I just wanted to come on real quick. For those of you who don't know me, but some of you know me because you've been following me. Okay, great. Pastor Jessica. But for those of you that don't know me, and for those of you that are come on replay, hi, Mr. Sam John. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Dr. Carmen Bryant. I have an agency called Psychological Health Consultants and Services, and I have developed a program called Redefining Yourself. The program that I developed is focused on women that are in or thinking about leaving. And so when you're thinking about leaving, you're needing more information. You know something is not right. You know something is not right, but you can't really put your finger on it. And so the program was developed for those women and those women that have left domestic violent relationships. And my main focus is narcissist abuse. And so for those of you that have not already and would like to, I have done a series of teaching on YouTube. If you go to my YouTube channel is Dr. Carmen Bryant, which is DrCarmenBryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. And because I have been doing pre-recordings, there's a lot of teachings where I have taken people through series of teachings to help you to understand, identify narcissist abuse, identify what it looks like to be abused by a narcissist. What is a narcissist? What is narcissistic personality disorder and the abuse that's inflicted by a narcissist versus regular domestic violence? Both of them are traumatic, but to give you an idea of what narcissist abuse is. And I've done a series of teachings, so please go to my YouTube channel. It's Dr. Carmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. There we go. And you're welcome to follow me on my professional Facebook page, which is Psychological Health Consultants and Services. And I usually try to record 4 times a week. And to interact, I also go live to interact with the viewers where they ask many excellent questions, and there are many comments on the YouTube channel inquiring and people telling their story of narcissist abuse. So in order to, and I know here on Periscope, being that the first time broadcasting on Periscope, I have to kind of start from scratch, start all over again. But, for those of you that are interested, please go to my YouTube channel where you can kind of follow what I've already been talking about. And here on Periscope, I'll try to recap and introducing what narcissist abuse is. The thing about it is you hear people say he's a narcissist or she's a narcissist. And a lot of times people don't understand what narcissist is, so they blow it off as if it is just a insult, that you've insulted someone. But narcissistic personality disorder is an actual personality disorder on the axis 2, which is the axis for the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual 5, updated 5 of psychiatric disorders. Just to let you know my background a little bit, I am a clinical therapist. I'm a clinician licensed in the state of Washington. I am also a clinical certified professional trauma professional, and I'm also a certified life coach. I'm developing a program to help those women, and even though I kind of focus on women, men go through the same thing that women go through when it comes to narcissist abuse. The behaviors and characteristics of females are similar and a little different, but if you follow me, you'll understand what narcissist abuse is, because I do have gentlemen that do email me and let me know their experiences of being with with a narcissistic female. First of all, you have to understand what, first of all, domestic violence is. Some people, I've had conversation with people, and there are some people that don't even understand what domestic violence is. Most people have assumed, and being in the mental health field, my assumption is always that everybody knows what domestic violence is. And so that's ignorance on my part, because I work in the field and I'm an advocate for those that have been through domestic violence. And so I'm always, sometimes you get under the assumption that everybody knows because that's all you ever talk about. Well, come to find out, speaking to a friend of mine, there are some women or even men that do not know what domestic violence is. Domestic violence is not just physical assaults or physical abuse, but domestic violence consists in, and I'm going to read it to you. You know, it's the power and control. When an individual, so it's not just the physical abuse, that's a part of it. And I'm going to go into the narcissist abuse. I'm not going to be on long. I just wanted to do an introduction, and I will be back because I'm going to take you through a series of teaching in reference to narcissist abuse. There's a whole language that goes with narcissist abuse. And the first thing that I want you to understand is that when you're dealing with domestic violence is not just physical abuse. Domestic violence is emotional abuse. And let me go through it real quick, okay? It's a controlling behavior when another person is trying to control you. And usually there's a problem with when another person is trying to control you, everything that you do, everything that you say. And a lot of times you find that in intimate relationships, family, husband, wife, children, and there's not a problem with you. That's the problem. Most people come out of domestic violent relationship assuming that something is wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with you. You go from victim to survivor when you understand that there was not a problem with you, there was a problem with them. But they'll use things to make you feel bad and to make you feel as if it was your problem. And many people that come out of domestic violent relationship with complex post-traumatic stress or post-traumatic stress disorder. I did a series of teaching. If you go and look on my YouTube channel, you'll also find what complex PTSD and PTSD disorder is and some of the effects of narcissist abuse. But domestic violence consists of not just physical abuse, but you're talking about economic abuse, where the abuser tries to prevent you from having a job, trying to prevent you from getting an education, will take your money and tell you what you can and cannot spend. Now, there's a difference if you're in a relationship and you're responsible with money. But when a person won't allow you to have your own money, when a person won't allow you to spend your own money or know how much money is in the account or make major decisions with your finances that you're not a part of that, or try to prevent you from having money. Another thing is, well, the physical abuse, but some people don't realize that physical abuse also entails blocking you from getting out of a room, wanting to talk to you when you don't want to talk, trying to keep you awake, or depriving you of sleep, depriving you of food, depriving your children of food. When a person is blocking you in the door and won't let you leave because they have something to say and they want you to listen to them right then, that's physical abuse. You have sexual abuse. I had a person ask me a question: is it possible for a husband to rape a wife? It is, and actually the law states in the United States, and I think all 50 states have adopted the law, but in all 50 states it is actually illegal and it is rape if you have sex with your wife or your husband, and most of the time the higher statistics is in the husband versus the wife, but it is rape. You can rape a wife, and you can go look it up. The law it says that you can rape a wife when you intentionally have sex in whatever way you can think of sex with a person that is not willing to have sex with you, and that could be your wife. So a wife can be raped, and most people don't know that there is a such thing as marital rape. The other thing also is forcing people into prostitution. So child trafficking, human trafficking against their will, that is sexual abuse. Emotional abuse and intimidation. Did you know that emotional abuse is if a person is also laughing at your features, your size, your dimensions, your hair, your sexual acts? Isolation, to isolate you from people. They get you away from people to prevent people from giving you the truth about your situation. And verbal abuse. Verbal abuse is threatening your fence. So there is more to domestic violence than most people assume that there is. Now, when you're talking about narcissist abuse, first of all, let's talk about what narcissist abuse is. In DSM, it talks about, at one point in time, we used to go by all 5 axes. Now we use all 5. Well, 5 axes. The first axis is usually dealing with principal disorders such as depression, anxiety, and Axis 2 deals with personality disorders. Narcissistic personality disorder is a pathological or dysfunctional personality disorder. Narcissistic personality disorder is on the Axis 2 personality disorder. When a person has narcissistic personality disorder, and they can also have more than one personality disorder. Some narcissistic personality disorder, people with that disorder also have psychopath or sociopath disorder. Now they call it anti-personality. So if you think about it for just a minute, a narcissist is on the same level as a psychopath and a sociopath. This is how bad they are. And some of the features of narcissistic personality disorder, to give you an idea of the type of people that they are. One of the major features to it is they lack empathy. Most people have empathy toward other people. Two of the biggest things is that grandiose self-importance. They think they are better than everyone. They have this grandiose, it's an illusion that they live. They live in an illusion, and people feed them information to make them feel like they are better and they are entitled. The second thing is that these people lack empathy. They do not have the capacity to feel emotions or feel empathy for other people. They have no conscience. They lack the ability to feel for other people. When you come in contact with a narcissist, and I'm going to teach you the language of narcissists, when you come in contact with a narcissist, do know that for most of us that want to be in a relationship, we talk to each other, we get to know each other, we give information about each other, so we learn what our boundaries are, we learn what it is that we like, how disrespect. A narcissist only collects information from you to figure out how to use it later on against you. A narcissist does not think like a healthy, normal individual because they have a personality disorder. And I know it's very hard because most people get into a relationship, but they're the nicest person that I could have ever met. A narcissist only looks at human beings and people as sources of supply. And I described this in one of my videos. If you take a moment to think, what is the purpose of your car? You may have a car. Remember when you first got the car and it was exciting. You had the new leather smell. You were excited to see, hello, Miss or Mr. Miss Ace. But when they have that new leather smell, it's a brand new car. You really like that car, but the whole purpose of the car is to transport you, to get you one location to another. Now, all of us may have had a favorite car. How are you? But all of us may have had a favorite car or a car that you like driving, and then eventually you may have problems with it, but eventually either it's going to be a classic or you're probably going to have to buy another vehicle to get you from one point to another, right? Where a narcissist looks at people like this. A narcissist looks at human beings, their children, their partners, and the people around them as sources of supply and modes of transportation to get them from one point to another. They don't connect with people in a healthy way. They don't connect with people in a loving manner that most people do. They connect with people because there's something about you that they need to make them feel good about themselves. They're not in love with you. They're in love with the idea of having you make them look good. Their whole image is based off of an illusion. And the one thing that I always say is women have a problem. Sometimes we talk entirely too much. A narcissist doesn't listen to you. They present themselves as a good. So the representative is there and they present themselves as good listeners and they're quick to move. They move very quickly. If you notice, they move very quickly. They meet you. They love bomb you. That's the language within the narcissist world. They love bomb you. Hello, Joyful. But they love bomb you. So what they do is they pull your emotions in to wrap you in to getting in a relationship, but they move very fast. You're going to meet my parents. We're going to get married. We're going to do this. They move very, very quickly. They move quick enough for you to stop thinking. So you don't think because you base all your emotions into that relationship, but they bank on that because they really manipulate your emotions to get you locked in. But the reason why they've attached to you is that you have a source of supply you are a source of supply to fuel them. You may have finances, you may have sex, you may have a house, you may have a good job, you may be a political figure, you might be a public figure. Whatever you have, somehow or another, they've connected with you because they found some value in the supply that you can provide, the fuel that you can provide for them. And what they do is they trauma bond you to get you connected. The lies will hook you. There is a chemical in your brain that's called oxytocin. Oxytocin is the same chemical that's used when, is the same chemical that is produced when people are addicted to drugs and alcohol. That is a chemical that's used for bonding. That's the same chemical that bonds you to another person. That's the same chemical that's stimulated when a narcissist is love bombing you to get you tied into them. Their whole thing is to get you addicted to them. But their whole intent is that you worship them and you provide them with fuel to make them feel grand, to make them feel. When you stop making them feel, what they do is they trauma bond you to maintain control over you. What they'll do, trauma bonding, and I also did some videos on trauma bonding to help you understand the way that they trauma bond. What they do is that as long as you're doing what they're telling you to do, as long as you're giving them fuel, as long as they can control you and you worship the ground that they walk on and you make them feel, and what you can do for them, then you are rewarded with those things that you've told them. The thing that I tell people is that when you're talking to people or when you're engaging with a person or a possible relationship, you can't talk so much because the words that you're speaking is writing the script that they're going to play. So you're telling them things, and a lot of times women, we talk too much. I don't like a man that does this, and I want a man that does this, and the problem that I had in my last relationship, and so you spill all your secrets. And what they do is they don't register. Now they make you feel good about yourself. They'll stroke you and make you feel good, and you're like, oh my gosh, he is such a great listener, and he's a good looking guy or girl, or lady. But they stroke your ego. They make you feel good about yourself. I've never met anybody like this. That's because of the fact that the more you speak, the more you draw the script, or the more you write the script of what they're supposed to, the role that they play in your life. So when you're finished drawing this or writing the script by what you say, they become the perfect person that you drew. Now in your mind, you're thinking like, I met the perfect person. No, you spoke the perfect person, and they are playing the role. They enter into this role and play this role, and then they love bomb you. They tell you how beautiful you are. Be careful with excessive compliments. They tell you how beautiful you are. They buy you things. They take you out to eat. They do all these things in order to bond you emotionally to them. They have no feelings towards you. They have no empathy. Their whole thing is to get what you got. If you got money, they're trying to get to that money, but they'll do, and it doesn't help that you might be a good looking person, and a lot of narcissists are good looking people. And I've heard women say, or men say that that's the best sex I've ever had. They don't look at sex the same way as you look at sex. They don't look at sex as bonding with you and getting closer to you. They look at sex as a tool or a weapon against you. If that's how you respond, that's what they play. That's the role that they play. But the trauma bonding part is where what happens is as long as you're doing what they're wanting you to do, then they're going to give you what it is that you've already showed your vulnerabilities. I'm going to be that perfect mate. I'm going to show you off to my friends. The moment you stop doing or you question them about what they're doing, then they torment you. There are terms called gaslighting, and we'll talk about it later on when I come back on, but they do things like gaslighting, meaning that they actually make you feel crazy. They make you feel like the things that you see and the reality that you have, they'll run you crazy. The ultimate goal of the narcissist, really, not every narcissist is physically abusive, but they are mentally and emotionally, psychologically abusive. But they will abuse anything around it. Everything is an extension of themselves, to include their children. Their children is looked at as an extension of themselves. That's why if they actually molested or raped their children, it's just an extension of themselves. It's just like masturbating, or it's just like having sex with their own self. And the child represents them. So if the child is doing great, if the child is at college, bound or performer or whatever, that reflects off of them. Even, and this is the parents of children, narcissistic parents, but they are an extension of how good you make me look. And as soon as you start making me look bad, then I'm going to abuse you. Likewise, when they're trauma bonding with their partner, they will abuse you to get you back in order. I also did a video which was when they're grooming you, how they groom you, how they do the trauma bonding, but you are now that oxytocin in your brain for addiction. That's the same oxytocin that's operating when they're trauma bonding you to get you addicted to them. And the same way when a person comes off of drugs and alcohol, the same withdrawal symptoms that they're having with the drug and alcohol withdrawals is the same withdrawal symptoms you begin to have when you're trying to disassociate yourself with a narcissist. But narcissists are very violent individuals. They never forgive. They never forget. They hoover. So these are all terminologies that are used within the narcissistic narcissistic language when you're describing narcissistic abuse. And so I encourage you all, go to my YouTube channel where I go in sequence. I just wanted to do an introduction to let you know what I talk about and the things that I teach about. I am starting a life coaching program. There are many people that have emailed me. There are many people that have commented and told me their stories about the trauma that they have been through. The thing about it is that there are some people that have attempted to commit suicide. There are people now that are suffering from complex post-traumatic stress and post-traumatic stress. And I explained the difference between post-traumatic stress and complex post-traumatic stress is post-traumatic stress is if you've had, and not every post-traumatic stress is not is trauma related, but it doesn't mean that you ever had to go to war and have fought a war to have post-traumatic stress. You can have post-traumatic stress or complex post-traumatic stress coming out of an abusive relationship. And if you're coming out of a relationship with a narcissistic personality person or a narcissistic person, the trauma in your life, the gaslighting, the trauma bonding, the torment, some of these people have told about the torment and how they acted, everything is to groom you and they watch you, everything. They live an illusion. And an illusion, if you go, I did one on the Great Illusionist too. And they create illusions. And so if you think of illusions, what they do is an illusionist implements false information and false lies, implements this into your mind in order to change your perception of reality or truth. And what ends up happening, like I say to everyone, is that you have taken the responsibility of someone else projecting their negativity on you. A narcissist are very angry. They don't feel emotions the same way that we feel emotions. We love, we feel empathy, we feel compassion for people. They don't. They're enraged, they're angry. And like I said, not every narcissist has been sexually abused, but every case that I've ever had, when I do diagnosis or when I do intense diagnosis and in-depth diagnosis, I don't treat personality disorder. I normally refer. So once I discover that I'm dealing with a person that has narcissistic personality disorder, because they want control, even in a clinical setting, they want control. But usually when I do an intense or an inclusive or in-depth assessment of those people that have come to me over the years, every single one, and I can't speak for every therapist, but every single one of those individuals that I have diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, every single one of them have been sexually molested or sexually violated in their youth. And on top of that, physical abuse, rejection, and abandonment. But they have gone through abuse. But every single one, a lot of them you'll find they'll have pornography addictions. They have very perverse thoughts of how sexual acts. They don't look at sex the same way as we look at sex. They look at sex as a weapon. We look at sex as bonding and and coming together and the deep part of the relationship. Narcissists don't look at sex the same way that we look at sex as sex. A lot of them have very perverse fetishes. And for a lot of women or men, a lot of women that are in relationship with a narcissist just excuse the behavior but don't really identify what you're dealing with. A narcissist will not change. Personalities, dysfunctional personality disorders, pathological personality disorder. They taught us in school personality disorders do not change. It's a part of your character. They don't have the ability they don't have a conscience like we do. And so they don't have the ability. First of all, a narcissist never looks at that there's anything wrong with them. So they don't have the capacity to change, and they will not change. A personality disorder does not change. That is a part of the character forever. I also did a video in reference to the brain chemicals, the chemistry of the brain. Someone asked me if they have some type of brain trauma, and we did find that there is not a trauma, but there is a part of the brain that did not develop properly for those people that have been diagnosed, and that is the part that deals with the empathetic side, whether there is a disconnect or a disconnect, but they have been so traumatized. And the way that I explain narcissistic personality disorders, if you think of those people that have an autoimmune deficiency, autoimmune deficiency is when the immune system turns against itself. So it begins to fight the body as if the body is attacking the system. Well, narcissistic personality disorder is a defense mechanism went wrong, and it turned in on itself. A narcissist is usually has a very low self-esteem, they're very sensitive to criticism. If you criticize, or even if it's just most of us need constructive criticism. If you criticize a narcissist, hello, Koj. But if you criticize a narcissist, they'll turn it back on you. It could be something as simple as, hey, did you leave the water out on the counter? They will not take accountability of any of their actions. Everything, hello, D. Wright, but everything that when you're dealing with a narcissist, everything is reversed and turned back on you. They do not take accountability. They do not take responsibilities. Laws, policies, any kind of rules do not apply to them because they have that grandiose way of thinking. Rules do not apply to me. I am more special. They'll give themselves more credit than they deserve. And then I also we'll talk about this as I come back on Periscope, but you also have different types of narcissists. You have a somatic narcissist. A somatic narcissist is a narcissist that is usually more focused on their looks, material possessions, sex. They're very grandiose. And that's what they use. You know, these are the ones that try to make themselves bigger than what they really are. They'll make themselves look as if they're more educated than the average person. They're able to connect because they don't have a personality. They don't have a sense of self. So they connect with people and they mimic you. They watch. And in therapy, that's one of the biggest things that we learn. When you're sitting in therapy, especially when you're dealing with people dealing with trauma, we have to learn how to mirror their body language, because really there's more language in the body language than there is verbally. So we have to watch the nonverbal communication. And so we watch the body language. Your body language will tell me more than your words will. It's how you express yourself. It's not what you're saying, is your facial expressions, your body language, is how you, and so a narcissist, they look at your body language and then they mimic your body language. They mirror what you do. The way that they develop that, you know, and there are levels. The way that they do is they mimic people's facial expressions and emotions, and when you cry, how you cry, and they're very dramatic. They are considered the dramatic on the axis 2. You have like the histrionic, you have the narcissist, you know, and I talk about it on my YouTube channel. But these are the dramatic personality disorders, and I'll come back on and talk about that as well. But you have the somatic, then you have the cerebral. Cerebral are more thinkers, they're intellectuals, and you do have those that are cerebral and somatic, but cerebral are not so focused on sex. They're more intellectual, they're thinkers. But you can have those two combined together. You have the malignant, which are the very violent narcissists, and then you also have the covert and the overt. The covert ones are the ones that you'll see those, they are so charismatic. They're the nicest people that you can ever meet. They'll give you the shirt off of their back. They'll give you the last dime in their bank account. These are the people that people, I cannot believe that you would say that this person is abusive. There's no way that this person is abusive. Those are the covert ones, because the families are the ones that are suffering. These are the ones that are violent and vicious to their spouses, their partners, and their children. But when they go into the community, these are the best people within the community. Then you have the overt narcissists. Those are the ones that are just very obvious. You can pick out their behavior. They're just obvious. They have no control over themselves. And the thing about it is just like it doesn't matter the how are you? Welcome to the channel. But you have those narcissists, you have different levels. First of all, it doesn't matter the socioeconomic status of a narcissist. You have the severely impoverished, the impoverished, you have middle class, you have the upper class, you have the extremely wealthy. So there is no socioeconomic status within the personality disorder of narcissism or narcissistic abuse. You also have levels within narcissists. So you have the different types of narcissists. You have the low-level narcissist and the mid-level narcissist. Those two right there are usually the ones that they're full of rage and they fly off the handle, they tear up things, they're very abusive, they're very violent, they have not learned to control their emotions, so they're unbalanced, so they fly off the handle. The mid to higher range, they have been trained to manage their emotions. They have more, not stability, but they have more control over their emotion. Then you have the higher narcissists, the ones, and one of the narcissists actually said is the skill and the art of our craft, meaning they know what they're doing. But the thing is that as they get with people train them on what to do and what not to do and how to get away with more or get away. So as they go up in the ranks of narcissism, or as they're learning their art, of how to manipulate you, they're also learning how to control their emotions. And so when you get to the more higher narcissists, they're very skilled at what they do, and it's very hard to detect narcissists. It's very, even in the clinical setting, when they come into my offices, I've worked with people that I didn't know, and I had to keep monitoring, and it wasn't until 6 months to a year where it finally dawned on me that I was dealing with a narcissist, because they're very charismatic people. And a lot of times they sound like they know what they're talking about. Remember, they connect with people that can provide them with supply, and they always are looking for sources of supply to fuel them. They look, not all of them are a lot of if you're dealing with a somatic narcissist, then they deal with sex a lot. They deal with different sexual partners. They always have a source of supply because they always have that fear of being rejected or abandoned. And so they constantly have sources. 9 times out of 10, you are not the only person in a relationship with a narcissist. You also dependent on the type of fuel that they need. If they're intellectual individuals, they have a source of supply that's an intellect. You have a source of supply that's finances. You have a source of supply that may be looks. You have a source of supply that is probably finances, that is willing to give them finances. And every source of supply that they have, provide them with some type of fuel. Even when you're angry and you leave them, even your anger or the words that you speak to them, provide them with a source of supply. The ultimate fuel and the ultimate sacrifice is when people commit suicide over a narcissist. That is their ultimate fuel. That is what makes them feel, and only for a short period of time, the highest grandiosity. It makes them feel empowered. They literally want to be the God in your life. They want you to worship them. So now you see that you're dealing with some people that are in domestic violence. Everybody is not a narcissist. Just know that. Hi, Julian. But everybody is not a narcissist. So do know that. Some people have narcissistic traits, but they're not narcissists. They do not have narcissistic personality disorder. So some people have narcissistic traits, especially if you come out of a relationship, a long-term relationship with a narcissist, or you come from a family where your parents or siblings may have been narcissists. You may have picked up on narcissistic traits because you had to learn how to manipulate or how to survive within the family or the relationship. And so you have picked up some traits which to you seem to be pretty normal. And some people can, and a narcissist will be quick to call you the narcissist if you discover that they're the narcissist. And do know that there is the discard. The discard was when they have depleted you, or there's nothing else that they can get from you, and they find another source of supply that may have more than you. And most people that, if you go look on my YouTube channel, there are people that have asked the question. I've done videos. I have done videos on, when that discards you and gets you a new source of supply. A lot of people are left like, I wasn't good enough. I couldn't do. It doesn't matter what you have done. You'll never be good enough for a narcissist. They're never good. They're a big, empty, walking pit. They're never satisfied. They're never happy. They're never sad. It doesn't matter what they tell you to do. You never can live up to their standards. You never can live up. If you wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't have done that. Well, the only reason why I had an affair with this person because you're too fat, you're too skinny, or you act like this, or this person makes me feel. And so a lot of times the discard happens. Do know that you won't get closure. You have to find your own closure and your own healing, because a narcissist will not allow you to have closure. They always will look to see if there's an open door to come back. If they need you, they'll put you on a shelf. They put you like an emergency glass in case they can't find another source of supply. So if they're always prepared, once they've depleted or gotten what they wanted from you, ultimately, they're always looking for a new source of supply that's more than what you had. You could have been middle class. They found someone that accepted them, but do know that when they get with a new source of supply, a lot of times they try to go punish you or make you feel bad, or they try to torment you on a constant basis. So they'll post pictures of them in this new supply, on these trips, on these voyages, on things that you wanted to do, but they never did with you. They try, I'm so much happier. I am, oh my gosh, this is the life that I need to live. This person treats me like a king or a queen. Everything that they're doing is an illusion. The only reason why they're living like this at this particular time is because the new source of supply has not discovered them. Because that new source of supply has not discovered what they got. But just like you were fooled and you were with them all that time and things begin to break down and then all of a sudden they just discarded you or you had to go because it was too abusive, it's the same thing that the new source of supply is going to experience. Sometimes it takes a little while because a lot of times people are in denial. This can't be possible. This can't be possible. And the biggest thing that women, a lot of the women women that I have dealt with, a lot of them, I can't believe that this person just didn't love me. I spent all this time and put all this energy into this relationship, and you mean to tell me that this person didn't even care about me? This person didn't have, I mean, you mean to tell me that I've given him children, or I've given her, you know, we bought a house, I've invested all this, and this person did not ever love me? To find out that a person is not capable of loving another person, and this is usually why we get into relationships. And so I just wanted to give you that information, just to give you an introduction to the program that I'm setting up. I do have, for those of you that have just come on, I do have a YouTube channel where if you start from the bottom and work yourself up, I have been doing, let me scroll up, but I have been doing a series of teaching concerning narcissist abuse. To identify it, I talk about it in detail, the language that is used. There's a whole, I used to, when I was in I am a clinician, when I sit in counseling, what happened is I was teaching this, but I was teaching it from a clinician's, a psychological terminology. So I was saying exactly what I'm saying now. I was just saying it from a clinical point of view to help people get through depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress. And when I began to start researching, I found out that there was a better language. There are life coaches that are on YouTube right now. You have people like Mr. Quinn Holiday, Associate Direct. You have, he's a male who has experienced narcissist abuse with a female, but he educates people and he does life coaching. You have people like Angie Atkinson. I started following her because when I was looking up stuff, and it just so happened she looks like the character of Criminal Minds, Garcia, the character. But I went and looked at her channel, and they used the language. There was a language. I said, wait a minute, there's a language. Let me learn the language of what I'm talking about. And when I adopted the language, the flying monkeys, which it's an entourage. You know, the narcissists will always have flying monkeys and people on their side to help fight against you. They work very, 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 very hard to make sure that they convince people that you're the crazy one. They convince people that you need to follow me. These are other sources of supply, the flying monkeys, to make them and lift them up on this platform, on this altar, to make them feel even more grandiose. And these flying monkeys, if you remember on The Wizard of Oz, they will fight for the Wicked Witch of the West. And so these flying monkeys have loyalty to this narcissist. And the narcissist will go to extreme, buying them things, paying for stuff, taking them out, whining and dining them, make them, the narcissist plays off of their insecurities and their weaknesses as well. And so they have this entourage of people that support them that has already talked about you to make you look crazy. And so there are different gaslighting, where there's a movie, I think 1948, there was a movie called Gaslighting, where the husband was trying to make the wife feel crazy. He was dimming the lights, and then whenever she said something about the lights, he made her feel crazy, like, I don't know what you're talking about. Narcissists do that too. The gaslighting, the love bombing, the love bonding, the love bombing, you have trauma bonding, so there is a whole language that goes with narcissist abuse. And so when a person says this person is a narcissist, a lot of times they're hurling insults, but sometimes what they're talking about and what now the people are being more educated. And when I picked up on the language and began to describe the language, I noticed that the people that I was helping, I was becoming more effective in helping them to overcome the abuse and the aftermath of the abuse that they went through, because then they begin, it's almost like having to untrain, the mind of the person that was manipulated and abused. But as they begin to understand that it was never their fault, that the person that they were attached to actually had narcissistic personality disorder, and they may have also been a sociopath or a psychopath. They do not have empathy. They cannot feel emotions the way you feel emotions. They do not bond with people the way that we bond with people. There is something wrong, even with the chemical makeup in their brain. They do not have the capacity to love. You may feel that passion because that's what you're looking for. So that's what they will give you, but they don't feel the same way you feel about them. And so hopefully this has helped you. I just wanted to come on just to give an introduction of my program. Please go to my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Dr. Carmen Bryant, DrCarmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. You know, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you know that when I come live, you can ask me questions, or whenever I post new videos. I usually try to post 4 times a week, depending on my schedule. I always try to go in and post 4 times a week. You're welcome to send me questions. A lot of the viewers send me questions right there on YouTube, or they'll send me a question or give me their stories via email. And my email address is Dr. Carmen Bryant, DrCarmen Bryant @outlook.com. You are welcome to send me your stories, and I'll even talk about it and answer your questions if you like. If you send me questions and you tell me that you're on Periscope, you know, I'll go on the Periscope and answer your questions. If you're asking me questions, but I'll do it on both. You know, I can take it and do it on both. You send me the questions, I'll do it on YouTube, and I'll also do it on Periscope. But on Periscope, I'm kind of starting over again. If you go on YouTube, there's already a series of teaching and different things that you may have experienced. You know, talk about the fetishes. We talk about the trauma bonding. We're talking about, you know, the words they're putting in your mind. We're talking about the flying monkeys. We're talking about, you know, the abuse that you've been through. So it actually gradually begins to educate you on what you may have went through, so that you will be relieved to know that you are not crazy and what you experience is what you experience. So once again, go to my YouTube channel, Dr. Carmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. You're welcome to go to my professional Facebook page, which is Psychological Health Consultants and Services. And please, if you have not already, follow me on Periscope, and I will try to come back more often because I do a lot of recording on the YouTube. But what I'll try to do is make sure that I do recaps and come back on Periscope. So please go follow YouTube so you can catch up with where the other followers are, and I'll still come on here. Welcome to send me questions. I'll answer them, and I'm going to start providing you with a series of training on Periscope to teach you what narcissist abuse looks like, what it sounds like, what are the tactics that they use, what are the manipulations that they use, what are the things that they do. It is domestic violence, but it's a specific type of domestic violence because you're dealing with a person that's dealing with a mental health disorder. And so please, you know, take the opportunity, write me, email me, and thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys have an awesome day. And as my friend always says, go and be great. And I add to it, I really mean that.